Here are 29 facts about birds. So here we go. There we are. Number 1. It typically takes 20 to 60 minutes for birds to lay an egg. Though there are exceptions, like says Mike Toms, geese and turkeys take significantly longer, while many nest parasites are able to lay incredibly quickly. Cuckoos, for example, average just 10 seconds. Number 2. Emperor penguins can dive to depths of hundreds of meters. Penguins are able to dive so deep because of the unique adaptations to their cardiovascular system. As they prepare to dive, their heart starts to race and the penguin hyperventilates, which primes its muscles with oxygen. Then it dives and does something, well, breathtaking. It cuts off the blood supplies to its muscles to conserve dissolved oxygen for the rest of its body. Next one. Some birds, individuals and species are monogamous and mate for life. Examples include mute swans, black vultures, albatrosses and puffins. Next. Flamingos are pink on the inside as well as the outside. Their pinkness is caused by the presence of carotenoid pigments found in the algae and crustaceans that make up the diet of a flamingo. Though the pink coloration is most obvious in a flamingo's plumage, the carotenoids also impregnate the bird's tissues, skin, blood, and even the egg yolk. Ugh. Next one. Humans are to blame for at least 600 bird extinctions, causing untold damage to ecosystems. Human interference in nature has not only caused the extinction of hundreds of bird species, but also caused fundamental changes in the role that birds play in the global environment. 6. The oldest wild bird in the world is widely thought to be rather remarkable. The Laysan albatross, known as Wisdom, who lives on Midway Atoll in the North Pacific Ocean and is now estimated to be in her early to mid-70s. Wow. Number 7. Vast numbers of fast-moving birds are able to fly in close proximity to each other and coordinate changes of direction thanks to their sensory systems that detect position and movement accurately, and are rapid responses that coordinate directional changes. Scientists studying starling flocks in Rome discovered each bird monitors its position by interacting with a sample of neighbours at varying distances. Next one. When it slams its beak into a tree in search for grubs, a woodpecker experiences G-forces 20 times what would likely lead to traumatic brain injuries in humans. And it does this 12,000 times a day, day after day, without as much as a headache. It survives the experience with its marbles intact because of a remarkable tongue, which works as a safety belt for the brain case. Other features of the skull that prevent brain damage include shock absorbers at the base of the beak that cushion the brain from the impact force. Next one. Some birds have a sense of self-awareness. If you looked into a mirror and thought your reflection was somebody else, you'd fail the mirror test. To recognize that the image was you, you have to understand that you are a being. You'd be self-aware. And when some bird species were tested, the magpie and the domestic pigeon passed, while parrots, jackdaws, and carrion crows failed. Number 10. Birds don't sweat, and do not have sweat glands, so they stay cool. They evaporate water through their respiratory tract. Watch a bird on a hot summer's day, and you may see it panting, or in some species, rapidly moving on the floor of its mouth. Next one. The strongest bird in the world is the black wheatear, which lives on the cliffs and rocky slopes of Iberia and West North Africa, I mean. This small insectivorous bird would get the gold in the bird weightlifting Olympics. The males decorate the outside of their nest holes and sometimes their nests with stones, some of which can weigh up to 2/3 of their body weight, according to research. Next, bird beaks do not get much longer than the aptly named sword-billed hummingbird. This bird's amazing beak, which can reach lengths of about 12 centimeters, is longer than its body, allowing it to access nectar from the longest, thinnest blooms that other hummingbird beaks can't reach. This extraordinary beak earned the sword-billed hummingbird the title of longest bird beak and a place on our weirdest birds lists and the weirdest bird beak list, which you can look on the web. 14. The smallest bird in the world is the bee hummingbird, which clocks in at just 5.5 centimeters in length for males. Females are slightly larger at around 6.1 centimeters. This also makes them the smallest warm-blooded vertebrate. 15. The loudest bird in the world is the male white bellbird, a curious Amazonian species that produces an ear-splitting sounds like the two-tone horn of a fast train approaching a station. 16. It's not just parrots that can talk. Starlings, Australian magpies, lyrebirds, bowerbirds, and corvids can all mimic human speech. Even a captive Australian musk duck hit the news in 2021 when it was recorded saying, "You bloody fool." 17. There is a bird that can walk on water. Well, sort of. It is called the jacanas possess preposterously long toes. I think it's called jacanas, I don't know. I'll just say it. Jacanas possess preposterous long toes, relative to body size that spread the bird's weight, enabling them to walk on floating vegetation, such as lily pads, without sinking. This talent has earned them the nickname lily trotters. 18 is very quick. In 1932, Australia declared war on 20,000 emus and lost. 19. The biggest bird of prey in the world is the Andean condor, with the wingspan, for the record, maxing out of around 3.2 meters and weighing up to 15 kilograms. The Andean condor is also the heaviest bird of prey in the world and the raptor with the longest wingspan. It also stands an impressive 1.2 meters tall. Next one. Bird poo is white because it contains materials from the excretionary and alimentary systems, a result of the two emptying into the cloaca, where the reproductive system also has an opening, whereas the feces contain undigested food remains, and so tend to reflect the diet and general composition. The pee is responsible for the white appearance as seen in many bird droppings. 22. The next one. The most intelligent bird in the world is the African grey parrot. They can not only talk, count, and dance in rhythm, but according to new research that uses nothing more than complicated than a couple of cups and a piece of walnut, they also have the reasoning abilities of a 3-year-old child. Wow. 23. Although there are a few birds that enter a state of suspended animation that is called torpor, there is only one bird that is known to be true hibernator. North American's common poor whale. This beautifully camouflaged nocturnal bird is a relative of the nightjar found in Britain, and in winter often hibernates among rocks. It can slash its oxygen intake by 90%, while its body temperature plummets to 5 degrees Celsius, barely registering signs of life. Next. A chicken once lived for 18 months without a head. When a chicken's head is chopped off, the severed nerves send impulses to the muscles of the legs and wings, which can cause the remainder of the bird to run around in a flap. Usually this lasts seconds, but in 1945 in the US, a bird dubbed Miracle Mike the Headless Chicken famously lived for 18 months after its head was removed. Next. The aptly named Bohemian waxwing, gorges on so many fermented rowan berries in winter that it gets a tad tipsy and is unable to fly or even walk in a straight line. Next. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards, a skill which comes in handy when feeding on the nectar of plants and insects. Next one. The Arctic tern has the longest migrational journey in the world. After breeding in the far north, it heads to the opposite end of the globe to enjoy the southern hemisphere's summer. As the crow flies, this would be 12,000 kilometers each way. But the terns take a more Menaderian route. One tagged individual clocked nearly 97,000 kilometers for the round trip. Next. Birds can count the number of eggs in their nests. Most birds sense when their clutch is complete via tactile stimulation of the brood patch, the featherless area on their bellies that warms the eggs, but there is evidence that some bird species count their eggs by sight. And here is our final two. Did you know that there are poisonous birds? In fact, there is a few of them. Birds were the last major group of vertebrates which poison or venom was identified by scientists, though local people had long known that some birds taste foul and cause numbness if handled. Poisonous bird species include the hooded pitohui and the blue cat Ephrata, and ornithologists think there may be more poisonous birds out there. And finally, 29. The bird with the biggest beak relative to body size is the Toko toucan, whose gaudy beak accounts for up to a third of its body surface area. Time for our bedtime bird.